Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper analysis from the UPSC perspective. Today, we have taken up important articles from the Hindu and the Indian Express newspaper. So, today we have taken up 4 prelims related topic and 3 mains related topic. So, first in pre is about data lake. Data lake. So, lake program is being developed by UBI. So, that's why we have taken a practice question based on the same. Second is question based on credit agencies. There was an article based on Moody's credit rating on China. So that's why we have taken a practice question on that. Then third is question based on nuclear power. Now, as you know, COP28 is going on. So on the sidelines, we have one deliberation, or you can say agreement, related to nuclear power. So we'll solve MCQ based on the same. Then our next question is based on Non-proliferation Treaty. Now, as you know, recently Hamas attacked Israeli airbase, which said to contain many arsenals or nuclear-based arsenals. So here we have taken a practice question based on Non-proliferation Treaty. Okay, so these are the 4 pre-related topics. Now let's come to the mains discussion. So first in this category is surrogacy, as there was a petition in the Supreme Court and petitioner challenged the provisions of Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021. So in our discussion, we see details of that particular act and concerns related to it. The next discussion is on plastic pollution, as COP28 is going on. So there are many articles which talks about different key takeaways, and there's one article based on plastic pollution. So here we'll discuss various aspects related to plastic pollution in our discussion. And the last main topic is on GPS. There was article on text and context page which talks about GPS. So these are the 3 main related topics. So let's start our discussion. So the first pre-pointer is based on this news article, which appears on page number 16 in the Hindu newspaper. Context of this article is that Union Bank of India and Accenture both have collaborated to design and develop scalable and secure enterprise, that is data lake platform. Okay. So this platform is quite useful in providing advanced analytics, reporting capabilities. So this will serve banking sector, which can solve the problem of management risk, security issue, etc. So now this is the practice question, which is based on data lake. The first statement is data lake is a decentralized repository that stores structured and unstructured data at any scale. Second statement is a data lake platform unifies data lake operations and combines building blocks to create simpler data lake architectures. And the third statement, which is the last statement, is a data lake can be established on premises, that is within an organization's data centers only. Okay, extreme statement. So here you are provided with 3 statements and you need to identify the correct one. So before answering this statement, let's see some key facts with respect to data lake platform. What is data lake platform? It is a comprehensive as well as flexible solution for managing and extracting insight from diverse data sets within an organization. So basically, this platform consists of information that is structured one and unstructured one from various data sets within an organization and beyond also. So this platform is data lake platform. And which sectors it will serve? It will serve MSME, banking sector, and it functions like risk management, treasury, customer service, operations, and among others. So this is all about data lake platform. Now let's solve MCQ. And why we have taken this question? Because UPSC has been asking question based on uh, recent developments in technology. You take it in economy, science and tech. Okay, like this question came in year 2022 on software as a service. Okay, so now let's come to the question. Data lake is a decentralized repository that stores structured and unstructured data at any scale. As just now I told you, it do contain structured and unstructured data at any scale, but it is not decentralized, it is centralized. It is centralized repository. Okay, so this makes our first statement incorrect. Now let's come to the second statement. Data lake platform unifies data lake operations and combines building blocks to create simple data lake architecture. See, data lake is a centralized repository, consists of unstructured and structured data sets to provide analytics with respect to risk management, security issue, etc. Now, to solve the problem of data lake, we have data lake platform. So, data lake platform is software which address the data lake challenges such as complexity, sluggish time to value, overall messiness. To solve the issue of data lake, we have data lake platform which unify data lake operations and combining building blocks to create simpler data lake architecture. It is a one-point solution. Basically, it will solve the problem of managing data or observing data or creating output processing. Now, data lake platform is a single base for everything from data management, storage to processing and output. So, with this information, our second statement is correct. Okay. Now, let's come to the third statement. Data lake can be established on premises that is within an organization data centers only. No, it can be in the cloud using cloud services like Amazon, Microsoft, Oracle Cloud, or Google. So it's not only within an organization. So this makes our third statement incorrect. Now you can see first statement is incorrect. Why? Because it is centralized repository. Second statement is correct because data lake platform do unified data lake operation. It make it more simpler. Then third, it can be established on premises. No, it can be established within premises as well as using cloud services. Okay. So here our answer is only A. That only one, that is option A. Now let's come to the next pre-pointer, which is based on this news article which appeared on page number 16 in the Hindu newspaper. This article is about Moody rating, which is quite concerning on China. Moody changed its stand from stable to negative with respect to China, which is a cause of concern, global cause of concern. And in that, two major reasons are there. First, surging local government debt, and second, deepening property crisis, or you can say retail sector, real estate sector crisis. So this is the context of the news article. Now, UPSC has been asking, question based on credit rating agencies. Like in year 2022, UPSC framed question on credit rating agencies which are regulated by RBI. So here we have taken practice question on credit scores. So you are provided with two statements and you need to identify the correct one. So the first statement is credit scores are generated based on publicly collected data of payment histories of individuals. Second is lesser the credit, higher is the credit worthiness of the borrowers. So these are the two statements. Now to answer this, first you should know about what are credit rating companies and how they do so. So Credit rating company is a company that assign credit ratings to an individual which is based on their ability to pay the debt, whether they are paying timely or not. So based on that, they will get some score. So these companies, and if they do so for individual borrowers, these are credit information companies. Okay. Now, who is regulating these companies? These companies are regulated by RBI. Okay. Under Credit Information Companies Regulation Act 2005. Then, how they do so? How they generate that score? How they generate that report card? They do so by collecting public data, credit transactions, payment histories of individuals and companies regarding their loans and credit cards. So, on the basis of this pool of data, they will generate report card, or you can say a report, and on that basis, they will provide score. Okay, that's how they function. Now, what is the utility of the score? Utility of the score is that banks and NBFCs, they will decide that whether to give loan to that particular individual or company or not based on this score. If score is good, then they will get loan easily and on attractive rate. But if score is poor because of various factors, one of that is defaulter, loan defaulter, then credit will be low. So they will not get loan easily. That is the importance of that score. Okay, that is always advisable for individual and company to maintain their credit score. Okay, so what are the examples of credit information companies? TransUnion, CIRF Highmark, Civil Limited. Civil Limited is quite famous. So these are some prominent credit information companies. Now, come back to the question. Now you know the importance of credit score. So these credit scores are generated based on publicly collected data of payment histories of individuals, correct? This score is generated based on pool of data, public history of individual transaction histories, etc. So this makes the first statement correct. Now let's come to the second statement. As I told you, the correlation between getting loan and credit score. Okay, this second statement is based on that info only. Suppose take any index 100. If less than 100 someone is getting like 25 or whatever, then lesser the score, then it is difficult for that individual to get the loan. Okay, so lesser the credit score, higher is the credit worthiness of the borrower. No, it is incorrect. Higher the score, higher the credit worthiness of the borrower. Okay, it's so with this our second statement is incorrect and first statement is correct. So our answer is A, one only. Now let's come to the next question. Our next question is based on this news article which appeared on page number 7 in the Indian Express. Now, during the World Climate Action Summit of the COP28 COP of the UNFCCC, more than 220 countries from 4 continents, they launched a declaration to triple nuclear energy. And I request you to take a pause and read this title carefully because we will be solving our MCQ based on this information. Okay. So title is 22 nations pledge to triple nuclear installed capacity by 2050. Plus, India is not a part of the pact. Okay. So now, let's come to the practice question. Why we have taken this question? Because UPSC has been asking question based on important aspects related to nuclear energy. Like in year 2016, 16, UPSC framed a question on International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor. Okay. Now let's come to the practice question. Consider the following statements about declaration to triple nuclear energy capacity. Okay. Here You are provided with 4 statements and you need to identify the correct one. So the first statement is the declaration aims to triple nuclear capacity by 2050. Now, why I ask you to take a pause and go through that title again? Because with this you can solve your first statement, whether it's correct or incorrect. 22 nation pledge to triple nuclear installed capacity by 2050. Okay, so with this, our first statement is correct. Okay, then second is nuclear energy like solar and wind power is intermittent. See, solar and wind power comes under intermittent energy, but nuclear provide a regular continuous base for power. So with this, our second statement is incorrect. Now let's come to the third statement. Currently, 10% of the world's electricity production is done by nuclear energy. This statement is correct because this information is correct. Near about 375 gigawatt is coming from nuclear energy, which makes 10% of world's electricity production. So this information makes our third statement correct. Now let's come to the last. Before that, I will tell you some important facts related to declaration to triple nuclear energy capacity. Basically, this declaration recognizes key role of nuclear energy in achieving what? Global net zero greenhouse gas emission. How nuclear energy can achieve zero greenhouse gas emission? Because they do not emit greenhouse gases. That is the beauty. So with this, we can easily achieve our goal of limiting global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius from pre-industrial times. Okay, that is the thought process behind this declaration. Now, what are the signatory countries? USA, Bulgaria, Canada, Finland, France, etc. So these are the signatory countries. Now take a pause and go through these countries because you will not find India in that list because India is not a signatory to this declaration. Okay, why so? Because India has taken a principled position not to join alliances outside COP. Okay, so if any question is that this declaration is part of COP 28, no, it's not. It's outside COP. That's why India is not signing it. So with this, our fourth statement is incorrect. India is not a part of this declaration. So 2 are correct and 2 are incorrect. So your answer is B, only 2. Okay. Now let's come to our last pre-pointer, which is based on this news article. And this news article appeared on World page in the Indian Express. Context is that recently, or I can tell specifically 7th October, Hamas fired lot of rockets and few of them struck down the Israeli airbase, which said to contain lot of nuclear-headed arsenals. Now here is one irony. Irony is that Israel is not accepting that, or not denying it, that we are having nuclear-headed arsenals. Okay. So this is the context of this news article. Now, again, UPSC has been asking question based on first based on various important groupings, second on nuclear related aspects. This question based on nuclear supplier group came in year 2018. So let's come to the practice question. Here you are provided with 4 statements with respect to Non-proliferation Treaty, that is NPT. So the first one is the treaty not only defines nuclear weapon states but also promotes disarmament. Second statement is it is the second most widely adhered treaty after Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, that is CTBT. And the third statement is IAEA is an important party of the treaty and oversees verification mechanism. And the last statement is India and Israel have never signed this treaty. Okay, so 4 statements and you need to identify the correct one. So why NPT? The basic purpose of NPT is that first, nuclear weapon state parties under a treaty are defined. Those manufactured and exploded a nuclear weapon or other nuclear explosive devices before 1st January 1967. So, according to this treaty, those nations exploded a nuclear weapon or other nuclear explosive before 1st January 1967 will be considered as nuclear weapon states. Okay. Now, it is a centerpiece. Why? Because it prevents the spread of nuclear weapons, obviously. Then, it promotes cooperation in the peaceful uses of nuclear energy. And further, to achieve the goal of nuclear disarmament. Okay. So, with this info, our first statement is correct. That treaty not only defines nuclear weapon states but also promote disarmament. Okay. Now, let's come to the second statement. It is the second most widely adhered treaty after CTBT. Now, this statement is incorrect. Why? Because it is not secondly. I guess it is the only widely accepted treaty because 199 states adhere to this treaty. So, this makes our second statement incorrect. Now, let's come to the third statement. IAEA is an important part of the treaty and oversees verification mechanism. Now, this statement is partially correct and partially incorrect, which makes it incorrect. Why? Because it do oversees verification mechanism, but it is not part of the treaty. Basically, non-nuclear states, they need to conclude some sort of agreement with IAEA, and in this IAEA prevent states from going from peaceful to non-peaceful side. Okay. So that is the role of IAEA in this. And even UPSC framed question on this aspect. India and Israel have never signed the treaty. Now, this statement is correct. Why? IAEA is not a part. This is the previous info. Okay. Now, South Sudan, India, Pakistan, Israel have never signed NPT. Okay. These are the countries have never signed NPT. But North Korea joined NPT in 1985, what withdrew in 2003. Okay. So, with this, our last statement is correct. Okay. So, first is correct, third is correct, third is incorrect, fourth is correct. So, two statements are correct. So, our answer is option B. Now, this is all for the pre. Now, let's come to the main specific topics. So, the first main discussion is based on this news article, which appeared on page number 12 in the Hindu newspaper. Context of this news is that recently there's a petition in the Supreme Court, and even Supreme Court raised one question, that is unmarried Indian women having a child by surrogacy will be accepted by the Indian society or not. So there was a question in return to this question by a petitioner, which where she challenged the provision of Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021. Now, to understand that question, you need to have clear idea of provisions of this act, which we will take in later part of our discussion. Now, the second question is that why we have taken up this, because it is very important from the paper 1 Indian society perspective. It deals with women vulnerable section. Then government intervention is very important from your paper 2 perspective. So because of that, we have taken this article. So in this article, we'll discuss basics about surrogacy. Then we'll see why there was a need for such act for regulation. What made government to come up with this act? Then what are the concerns related to provision? Then we can understand the problem of this petitioner, and we will end our discussion with a brief conclusion. So this is the structure of our discussion. So let's start with the first question. What is surrogacy? In a layman terms, surrogacy is when a person carries or deliver a child for another person. When any couple is facing difficulty getting pregnant, at that time, this works as a solution. Okay. So now, who is involved? First, the person carrying the baby. That person is known as surrogate mother. Now, couple taking the custody or guardianship of that baby will be the intended couple or commissioning parents. Okay. So, these two are the stakeholders here, surrogate mother and intended couple or commissioning parents. Now, what is the need of surrogacy? Why a person need to carry child for another one? What is the need behind this all? See, the first most important reason is infertility, which is a burgeoning health concern with respect to men and women. So, because of this, there is a rising demand in artificial fertilization techniques. You take example of IVF, egg freezing, surrogacy. So, surrogacy comes under that. It is one of the solution to cure this problem created by infertility, because there is a rising demand among couples embracing parenthood. Okay. Now, infertility is not the only reason. Second reason is socio-economic factors. Now, how socio-economic factors can be the reason behind this? See, because of financial independency, there's a rise of independent couples, and because of that, because of rising demand from a widow, from a divorcee parent, divorcee. So, because of the rising demand, they will opt for surrogacy. Now, by accepting child from surrogacy can change the landscape of reproductive choices, which which is because of the altering family system. There's a Earlier there was a some kind of notion with respect to family, that child will be coming from a parents. There's no concept of uh, IVF, egg freezing, surrogacy. So there was a common notion, but because of the altering individual needs and changing family structure, create change in the landscape of reproductive choices, and surrogacy is one among them. Okay, so these are the two prominent factors behind the rising demand of surrogacy. Now, you know why there was a growing demand. So, according to Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021, surrogacy is a practice where a woman gives birth to a child for an intending couple with the intention to hand over the child after the birth to the intending couple. Okay, so this is the definition provided in the act. Now, there are different type of surrogacies. First one is altruistic, second is commercial, and third one is compensated. Altruistic surrogacy is when you are carrying a baby with no motive for money or financial gain. It is purely or entirely based on altruistic desire. So that is altruistic surrogacy. Okay. Second is commercial surrogacy, where an individual is charging a fee or a compensation for carrying a baby for the couple, and it is kind of a contract agreement. Okay. So where you are carrying a child for monetary gain or financial gain, that is commercial surrogacy. Now, one is altruistic surrogacy based purely on altruistic desire. One is commercial surrogacy, take it as an agreement, take it as a job where one individual is getting paid for that. Now, in between, there is a compensated surrogacy. Here, couple will take the charge of medical expenses of that individual, and it will provide base for when that individual is not working. Couple will compensate for that. So, couple will compensate only specific charges. They will not pay extra fee or financial. They will not sign kind of a contractual agreement for the same. That is compensated, which lies between altruistic and commercial. Here it's compensated because couples are paying for specific charges like medical charges and etc. So these are the three types of surrogacy: altruistic, compensation, and commercial. Now, you know what is surrogacy, stakeholders involved, reason behind coming up, then types of surrogacy. Now, government came up with a regulation in year 2021. So, what made government to came up with regulation that too in year 2021? Okay, government was forced to do, forced in the sense that circumstances were like that they have to come up with some kind of regulation for this problem that is uh, created by surrogacy. So, what happened in India? Commercial surrogacy was legal. You take it from year 2002 to 2015. India was having a legal commercial surrogacy. So definitely, when something is legal, that demand will rise, business will expand. Because of high demand, the unprivileged women was taking it as an opportunity to lend their womb for fair prices, which can improve their way of life as well, because they are coming from the unprivileged section. But unfortunately, few middlemen take it as an opportunity to exploit the same. So they created a nexus between healthcare system and women, and they started exploiting it. You must have heard many news articles that Gujarat is one of the hub for surrogate mothers because of the exploitation led by this middleman. Okay, one is because of this. Second, if you see countries like Iceland, Germany, Sweden, they put some kind of restriction on surrogacy. So these couples or foreigners couples, they drift towards India. This also become one of the prime reason behind exploitation of Indian women in regard. So these are the two prominent factors, and you can gauge the intensity of this market that in year 2012, uh, surrogacy transaction is near about 2.5 US billion, 2.5 in 2012. So to solve the problem, government came up with a regulation in year 2021. So government came with Surrogacy Regulation Act 2021. In this act defines the surrogacy, as we have already discussed this thing earlier, that what is surrogacy. Okay. This act prohibits commercial surrogacy. Earlier it was legal. With this act, it prohibits commercial surrogacy. Now there is only one option, altruistic surrogacy. Okay. And it allows altruistic surrogacy. Now you know the meaning of altruistic surrogacy? Purely based on altruistic desire, helping others. And it bans commercial surrogacy. So you can't consider surrogacy for your financial gain. Now it is no more contract. Okay. Further, this act specifies the eligibility criteria. Okay. Now, surrogacy is permitted only for those intending couple with proven infertility. Second, Indian women who is widow or divorcee between the age of 35 to 45 can intend the benefit of this act. Okay. Go through this line again. Indian women who is widow or a divorcee. So the marriage became the principal or objective criteria behind this. If someone is married, then only it can be a widow or a divorcee. So marriage became the base. Now, financially independent Indian women who is unmarried cannot get the benefit because of this eligibility criteria. And that is the context of this news article, because a petitioner who raised question, she is Indian woman, 35 years of age, and she is unmarried. So she cannot avail the benefit because of the eligibility criteria set by this act. Got it? Then she argued that the reason behind setting this eligibility criteria boiled down to patriarchal mindset. Why? Because you made marriage as sacrosanct under this act. One person need to be married to get the benefit. So this is a problem, and that is why she went to Supreme Court. Now, another eligibility criteria is for surrogate mother, that she need to be a close relative. Okay. So this altruistic surrogacy will work only when you will have a close relative who can help couple in this. So the first is for the couple or for the individual who can avail the benefit, and second is for the surrogate mother. Now, when government came up with regulation or to solve some kind of issue, which we have already discussed, but this act also came up with few concerns. Let's see those concerns. The first one is, this provision is exclusionary. Why exclusionary? Because it is including some and excluding some. And under excluded one, we have LGBTQ+, then single parents, then unmarried girls, so these categories are excluded from this provision. It raises concern on diversity and inclusivity. Okay. Second is, altruistic surrogacy is paternalistic. Why it is paternalistic? See, altruistic surrogacy is based on altruistic desire, but in the process, female face emotional and mental toll, but she can't get financial compensation for the same, just because we prohibit commercial surrogacy. Now, this aspect is because of our paternalistic approach. It expects women to provide reproductive choices based out of compassion. Okay, there is no monetary aspect related to it. So basically, according to patriarchal biases, women's work hold no monetary value or economic value. This is the same issue uh, Indian working women is facing, and that is why their work is unpaid work. They are not getting any monetary support for the same. So, our second point, that altruistic surrogacy paternalistic because of patriarchal biases is perpetuate. Okay. Now, the third is it does not respect the bodily autonomy of women. In what sense? See, this regulation made this made it to right based to need based. Now it's not your right; it's all your need. So it does not respect the bodily autonomy of women. What women wants. Okay. So basically, this regulation devoid of respect for bodily autonomy of female. Second is impetus to black marketing. Now, anything which is prohibited, definitely that sector will become underground and it will be unregulated, unlicensed, which is again a cause of concern. And because of this regulation, because of complete blanket ban, there's a huge risk coming out from black marketing. Okay. Then next is it does not define close relative. As I told you that they put a eligibility criteria that surrogate mother need to be a close mother or close relative. Okay. This they have mentioned that surrogate mother need to be a close relative, but they didn't provide any kind of detail with respect to close relative, that how you will filter down that this relative is close and this relative is not. Okay, so there is no clear demarcation, and when there is no clear demarcation, again is a cause of concern, because it will lead to exploitation of this channel. Okay, the next is reproductive liberty to the couples. See, this provision filter down couples on the basis of objective criteria, that is either they should be divorcee or widow, then only they can opt for surrogacy. So what you're doing here, you are denying reproductive right to an individual. Okay. The next is no power to make decision on abortion. Here, intending couple or commissioning parents, they are not getting any kind of right to consent with respect to abortion of that surrogate child. Even if that child is having medical abnormalities, then also they don't have any say. So, with this provision, you are limiting or you are restricting couples opting for surrogacy as a solution. Okay. So, no power to make decision on abortion. Last but not the least, identify an emotional aspect. Now, here you allowed altruistic surrogacy, and that person, surrogate mother, need to be a close relative. Now, child, suppose one child is there and her surrogate mother is also part of family, then couples. So, this familial bond and emotional complexity is difficult for everyone, for surrogate mother, because she can't maintain that gap. Then for couples, because the emotion couple is having, that mother is also having, and in future it can create problem for child as well. So identify an emotional aspect is one of the concern with respect to surrogacy regulation act 2021. So these are the concerns with respect to this act. Now, having seen concerns, what should be the way out? See, the way out is that act should be revised for what? To establish a comprehensive and inclusive procedure. Why inclusive? Because currently it is exclusionary, excluding single parents, excluding unmarried girls, then excluding LGBTQ. To make your community inclusive, we need to revise current regulation. Then this revised procedure should aim to make surrogacy readily accessible to the deserving citizens of India. Right now, you need to come up with a close relative, which is very difficult to find. So, okay. So, this is all about surrogacy. And if you have any kind of doubt or query, you can drop in our YouTube comment box. We'll try to solve as soon as possible. So, our next discussion is based on this news article, which appeared on page number 13 in the Hindu newspaper. Now, context of this news article is that Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee comes under UNEP, and this committee met in Nairobi for the third round of negotiation. Second round of negotiation happened in Paris. Okay, for what? To develop an international legally binding instrument to end plastic worldwide. Okay, it will solve the life cycle issue of plastic. So their idea is to develop an international legally binding instrument. Now, why we have taken this? Because environmental pollution and degradation comes under your GS paper 3, which is very important. Plus, UPSC has been asking questions based on various aspects related to pollution. Like in year 2023, UPSC asked about oil pollution. In year 2015, UPSC asked about air pollution. So anytime UPSC can ask about repercussion consequences of plastic pollution. So in this article, we'll discuss what is plastic pollution, consequences, what should be the way out. Okay. Now let's quickly see the key takeaway of this meeting. So the secretariat came up with a zero draft, which contains strong options for an international legally binding treaty to end plastic pollution. Okay. Now, other things which member agree to do so is that they water down their core obligations, particularly those pertaining to high impact elements such as primary polymer production. In this, they also agreed that they need to find strong measures against life cycle of plastic, but there is a diverse opinion on same. This difference of opinion came that according to few, that life cycle of plastic starts at the procurement of raw material stage, but for others it starts at designing of the product. So because of that, there is no common consensus. Okay. Then second point of confusion is on financial mechanism. They all want to come up with financial mechanism which can solve the problem of plastic pollution, but problem is how to do so. So there is no common consensus, which makes it difficult to implement. Then again, another issue is voting method. Some of the country like India, they are demanding that voting should be based on sort of consensus. But for few, voting should be based on two-thirds of the majority. So again, it's a point of discussion, and there is no common consensus. But some groups stand apart in this meeting, like African group of countries and small island developing states. They played very important role. Their submissions stood out from the rest as they championed the voices of waste pickers and indigenous people. Okay, so these are the important key takeaways from this discussion. Now, let's come to our main topic, that is plastic pollution. Now, what is pollution? Pollution is anything which can destroy the sanctity of the environment. Anything which can hamper the sanctity of environment, that is pollution. Now, uh, anything which is doing so is pollutant. Pollutant can hamper the sanctity of the environment. So here, our prime pollutant is plastic. Okay. So what are the consequences of using plastic? Why plastic is a pollutant? What are those intrinsic character? First is it is non-renewable. 1 to 3% of the plastic only is recycled. Okay. If anything, only 1-3% is recycled, that means it get buried into our land. We can see in the water columns, which is a cause of concern. You take it, whatever landforms, everywhere plastic is there. So it is a cause of pollution there. That's come to our second point. Plastic is it's not recyclable too easily. Then it is quite light, so it can traverse long distance. When something is light, it's not recyclable, then it will settle down in land, water, air. The air we are breathing composed of a lot of plastic particles, which is not good for health. That is pollution. It causes for land pollution, cause for water pollution, whatever pollution. Plastic is there. See, our association with plastic is quite small. Our dependency on plastic is like that for everything from having food to drinking water, we need plastic. But that association time period is quite small, from minute to hour. But the process, that degradable process, the persistence of plastic is quite long. One this plastic water bottles can stay for thousands of years. That's an issue with plastic, and that's the reason behind. And that is why it is a pollutant, major pollutant. Then it is energy intensive. Why it is energy intensive? Because we use lot of water during the life cycle of plastic. Now water is a finite source. So in long run, it will be not sustainable. So that is why it is energy extensive, energy in the form of water. Then, as I told you that plastic get easily fragmented into small particles by the use of natural forces like water, sunlight, etc. So it easily get into our food chains. For example, you take sea turtles. Sea turtles have plastic. Their staple diet is jellyfish, but because of this persistence of plastic in ocean or water column, they have plastic bag in place of jellyfish. See how plastic bag entered in the life or food chain of sea turtles, which is harmful for sea turtle as well as for other species trapped in that food chain. Food chain. Okay, that's how it is harmful to aquatic life and other species as well. Then how it is same goes with human as well. Plastic is primary cause for cancers, birth defects, hormonal imbalance. So these are the concerns raised by plastic and how easily they enter into the food chains. That is a major concern. Now, these are the problems with respect to plastic because of its inherent characteristic that it is not easily recyclable. It is very light, can traverse long distance. It use a lot of energy in the form of water. Then it easily enter into our food chain. So these are all these issues because of its character, quality. parameters, characteristics. But plastic pollution is not just because plastic is like that. It's also because we are not handling that pollution wisely. So, reason behind that, what are the challenges to end plastic pollution? The first one is effective waste collection. We don't have organized system to collect waste, to segregate waste, to recycle waste. We don't have single organized system to do these three, that is collecting waste, segregating waste and recycling waste. So in the absence of organized system, we still have plastic pollution. Then there's no, second is national policy for recycling plastics. We don't have national policy for recycling plastics. Okay. And even if center come up with the idea to set up a recycling plant in any state, then state pollution control board come with the opposition that you can't do so. It will be a cause of concern for our people. And that is why till now we don't have national policy. We don't have single organized system. We don't have national policy. Now, the last is attitudinal change. Now, our life is so dependent on plastic that it is very difficult for human being to easily dissociate from it. So this is a time taking because it requires positive attitudinal change, and this change is quite time taking. So because of that, this is one of the challenge to end plastic pollution. Okay, so these are the three major challenges to end plastic pollution. Now you know the consequences, you know the reason behind this plastic pollution. What should be the way out? Before that, because of this problem, government came up with Amendment Act 2021 with respect to plastic waste management, and this rules talks about prohibition of single use plastic, timeline, what should be the thickness of plastic bags. As I told you, it's very difficult to dissociate because you need to have you are using plates made up of plastic to have food, drinking water from the plastic bottles, then bags to carry the items. So there's what should be the thickness of plastic bag mentioned in this rule. Then who is the monitoring agency? According to this rule, Central Pollution Control Board along with State Pollution Control Board. Then what is extended producer responsibility? Okay, so these are the major rules under this amendment, and you can take a screenshot or you will get the info in our PDF also. I'm not going much in detail. Now let's discuss what should be the way forward. The first is effective waste management. Now, as I told you, we don't have single organized system and we don't have a national policy as well. So what is much needed? We need effective waste management which can wisely do collection, segregation and recycling. Okay. Then for this we need lot of investment. So government should infuse lot of money to set up effective waste management. Then second is sustainable products. Here government can do its part, but our association with plastic is quite compact. So what we need sustainable products so that our reliability on plastic should go down. For that we need sustainable products. So government should come up with scheme to promote sustainable products which can easily replace plastics. Okay, and that should be cost friendly. Then third is internationally legal binding agreement. We need internationally legal binding agreement. Now if this goes well, then what we have internationally legal binding agreement to end plastic pollution worldwide. Then you can replace this suggestion from your way forward. Okay, once it get finalized, then promoting use of waste plastics. See, plastic can be used as a binding material, like plastone is there, making of roads, constructing houses, etc. Then promoting biodegradable plastics. Government should promote biodegradable plastic, which is made up of husk, cow dung, etc. wood. So by making, which is made by algae. So this biodegradable plastic can solve the problem of persistence or that long shell life of plastics, which is because it will be easily degradable, which is the major concern and challenge with respect to plastic pollution. So these are the important way forwards. So in crux, what we need? We need segregation of waste at sources. Then we have effective collection of the segregated waste. It should be transported safely. Then what is must needed is cost effective recycling. Cost effective recycling. Then less landfilling and dumping in the environment. And most importantly, awareness, which should come up with positive attitudinal change. Okay, that's all with respect to plastic pollution. Now, here we'll come up with our last mains discussion, which is based on this news article, which appeared on page number 14 in the Hindu newspaper. This article is about global positioning system and major recent developments. And the science and technology is important from your GS paper 3 perspective. So, what is GPS? Global positioning system is GPS, and what is that? It is based. It is a satellite based. Sorry, it is a satellite based navigation system. Satellite based navigation based system. Now, it composed of satellites and receiving devices that will help you to get the exact location of the user, which is based on three parameters: altitude, longitude, latitude. So, this combination of satellites and receiving users' devices will give you exact location of the user. Okay, and from where it came? It came from US. So, there was a first experimental satellite project which was launched in year 1978. Okay, so this is basic about GPS. Now, what are the components of GPS? As I told you, it is a network of satellites, receiving devices. So, the first is satellite. Space segment consists of near about 24 satellites in this, positioning at 20,000 kilometer. Now, these satellites are constantly sending signals, radio signals, which provide information about location, time, and other data. Okay, these satellites are constantly sending signals, radio signals, which provide information about time, location, etc. Now, these satellites are arranged in such a way that four of them at any point of time at any place, you can see four of them. Okay, they are placed in such a way in space segment. Now, after satellite, what is the another component of GPS is ground control station. Now, ground control station, what is the use of ground control station is to monitor these satellites, whether they are orbiting rightly or whether they are following the right path, any issue is there or not. So, they are just monitoring these satellites. How many satellites? 24 satellites in the space segment. Then we have GPS receivers. What is the role of these receivers? These receivers used to receive signals sent by the satellites. Okay. And these receivers are basically, you can see in your smartphones, navigation devices, etc. Okay. So these are the key components of GPS system. You can see in this figure or in this image as well. This is the space segment. This is user segment. And this is the control segment controlling these satellites. And here we have 24 satellites at 20,200 kilometer. Right. Now we know what is GPS. What are the key components of GPS? Its utility depends on how it works. Okay. So basically, GPS receive signal from GPS receiver picks up signals from various GPS satellites. Okay. And these satellites send radio signals which travel at the speed of light. You know this formula, it's quite common. Distance is equal to speed into time. So now you know the speed, that is speed of light. Now here you can see there is a relation between distance and time. Distance is proportional to time. So the time GPS receiver is getting the signal coming from satellite can give you the idea of the distance between that receiver and satellite. Okay. Why? Because of this basic formula. Now when you know that time coming time uh, taken by signal to come to the receiver from the satellite, and you know the exact location of satellites, so you can find the precise or you can find the location of the user. So GPS receiver measures the time it takes for the signal to reach it from each satellite. Okay. Now, using the known location of the satellite and the time it took for the signal to travel, so GPS receiver can calculate the distance between itself and each satellite. Now, with the distance measurement from at least 4 satellites, can give you a precise idea of user's location. Now, to get the precise idea of user's location, there is a method that is trilateration. Now, what happened? You consider a GPS satellite as a flash of light. So, when this flash of light strikes ground, it forms a circle of light. So, with one satellite, you have one circle, you take it three. So, this three circle form this trisection point. This trisection point gives you the precise location of the user, okay, which depends on altitude, latitude, and longitude. That's how you get the exact location, and that's how GPS works, okay. And now you know what is trilateration. Got it? So, so what are the different satellite navigation systems? We have 4 global satellite based navigation covering entire earth. We do have regional one, you know, navic, that is India's regional. We have, we'll see later. So US is having GPS. Just now we have discussed its functioning, what is GPS. Then Russia is having GLONASS, that is global navigation satellite system. Then we have Video navigation system. Then European Union is having Galileo. This information is quite important for your prelims examination, okay, so go through carefully. Then Japan has 4 satellite regional navigation system, that is quasi zenith satellite system. Japan is not having global one, okay. For global one you have US, Russia, China, and European Union. Japan and India are having regional navigation system, okay. The second one after Japan is India with Indian regional navigation satellite system navic, okay. That is navigation with Indian constellation, and it composed of 7 satellites, 3 geostationary and 4 geo in geosynchronous orbit. Now you know about GPS, you know about navic. So let's quickly solve one question based on navic. And why we have taken it? Because UPSC has already asked question based on satellite navigation system. And the question is that which among the following has its own satellite navigation system? And the answer is Japan. Okay. So now let's come to the question. With reference to navigation with Indian constellation, that is navic, consider the following statements. So you are provided with 3 statements and you need to identify the correct one. So navic consists of constellation of 7 satellites placed in low Earth orbit. See, partially correct how? Now you need to tell. It's a constellation of 7 satellites. This info is correct. But these 7 satellites are not placed in low Earth orbit. As I told you that it consists of 7, in which 3 lies in geostationary orbit and 4 in geosynchronous, not in low Earth orbit. This information makes our first statement incorrect. Now let's come to the second information. It can provide accurate position information service to users across India and region extending up to 1500 kilometer. See, as I told you, it's a regional. It is not covering entire Earth. It's a regional navigation system. So this statement is correct because it can provide accurate information service to users and the region extending up to 1500 kilometer. Okay. Now let's come to the last statement. It is designed to provide accuracy of around 100 meter. Here the statement is incorrect. Why? Because it is designed to provide accuracy of around near about 20 meter, not 100 meter. This makes our third statement incorrect. So how many statements are correct? Only one. So what should be our answer? A. That is only one. Now let's quickly see the application of GPS, utility of GPS. First, it is quite helpful in providing location-based services in mobile devices, voice navigation for drivers. Then it is quite helpful in mapping, survey and geotechnic measurements like mapping of terrains, creating digital maps. Creating digital maps is quite easy. We all are following that maps provided by GPS. Then it is quite useful for hikers and travelers. Why? Because it helpful in terrestrial navigation. Then you have disaster management. It is quite helpful in precision agriculture as well by helping yield monitoring, variable rate application of fertilizers and pesticides. Then by attaching GPS on weather balloons, you can monitor atmospheric conditions which can predict weather patterns more accurately. So in meteorology, then we have seismology. It can monitor ground movements or plate tectonic activity. So GPS system can detect and measure ground displacement in earthquake research and early warning system. Then in military operation as well, GPS for navigation, target tracking and coordination of operations. So these all are the applications of GPS. Same goes with other navigation system as well. So if there's question which is about the utility of navic, you can frame your answer based on these points. Okay. So if you have any doubt, you can drop your comments or you can drop your question. And that's all for today. Stay tuned for more such updates.